Welcome to our session here, what to do with all of your data. We've got a really packed agenda, so let's get into it. Just going to introduce ourselves and introduce OpenDataSoft a little bit for you guys, and then really the idea is to make this as interactive as possible. Usually we come to all of these different conferences and we have sessions and we talk about ourselves and we talk about our clients, and then we get tons of questions. So today I figured let's just do the questions and let's just talk about what the people here in the room are looking to do with their data. So just to introduce us a little bit more, my name is Adam Reiser. I am the North American Sales Director for OpenDataSoft. I'm joined by Macarena.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. I'm a customer success manager for all of our clients in North America, Europe, and Australia.
Thank you. So who are we at OpenDataSoft? We are the world's leading open data software company. We were founded in 2011 out of a joint project with the French government. So very early in the open data sharing space, and we've just kind of grown from there. So we're now in over 25 countries. We've worked on thousands of projects. So we are definitely the open data experts when it comes to sharing any type of data that you have as a municipality, as a state agency. Our platform is the leading way to share this data. It empowers your users, your constituents, to be able to access it, reuse it for their own needs, their own purposes, and generate value for the entire community. And we mainly see our software being used in 3 use cases. Probably the majority of what we'll focus on today is open data, sharing data with the public, sharing data with other agencies within the state or other municipalities in the region without having to authenticate, log in. But we do also see our clients using us for internal data sharing, right? So within your own department, within your own organization, you have divisions. How do you effectively make sure you understand what each department has to share with their data? So our platform allows for that ease of access, data sharing from all your different sources, whether it's AWS, Azure, Snowflake, any cloud solution, even if it's just flat files, GIS, ArcGIS. It's a single platform where all of this information can come together and be accessible for your users. Now, we do have quite a few use cases here in North Carolina. We work with the Office of State Budget and Management on their open data portal. We work with the judicial branch for their open data portal. We also work with the communities of Cary and Morrisville on their open data portals as well. And those are some interesting use cases because they lean into the smart city side of things with their data and their geospatial data, right? They'll have rainwater sensors throughout the community, which they have a live feed to share that data. And we can certainly take a look at any examples if you do have any questions, but I'd like to kind of throw it out to the room and hear a little bit more about how are you sharing your data currently, what are some of the challenges that you're facing, and exposing it to the public, making sure that it's in an understandable format, making sure it's reusable. Let's hear it. Yeah.
Stream monitoring stuff, and how you guys do that.
Sure. So let's pull up Cary's open data portal here. So again, they're using our software to power their open data portal. We'll come into their data stories section here, and basically they are developing all these different dashboards using the data that they have coming into the portal. And if we scroll down, let's see. So here's their stormwater monitoring dashboard. So they built this, and this is a live feed of all of their sensor sites within the community. And users can actually come in, select a specific location, and view a live feed. So you get, if the sensor's equipped with a camera, you get a screenshot from the camera. If you scroll down here, you can see some of the stream and lake observations. What's the air temperature? What's the water temperature, pressure, all that type of data. And then, tracking it over time here. And if we want to, change the date range and see a longer view, we can configure that as well. Or we just want to look at what, the past few days, right? If you're a resident, you say, hey, it's been awfully rainy here. Are we at risk of any flooding? We can see that. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, who is it who's actually accessing a lot of this information? Is it just the public in general, or are they professional people? Like, I used to be a demographer.
Mm-hmm.
We used to access a lot of this data in hopes of putting physicians, dentists, major businesses into certain areas which were more conducive to what they did. And this kind of information was what we would access in order to figure out the best locations for them. So what I'm wondering is this a little bit of who's accessing the data, or is it just the public in general, or do you know?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the things about open data is you don't necessarily need to register to access it, right? It's completely available to the public. So that does limit your tracking of who's using it. But users can also sign up and subscribe, and that way they can see if the data set is updated. They'll get a notification. So our clients do get some sense of who's actually using the platform. And it is businesses, right? So businesses are coming here and looking at the building permit information that's published on the site. If we'll come to the catalog here and just kind of show.
Maybe you can show Morrisville permit app.
Oh, sure. We'll pull up Morrisville as an example. Sure.
Well, Adam is looking. I think it's interesting to know that we know that one source of data. Yeah. One source of data may have like different uses. For example, you have like one data set, and the whole data set cannot be public. So the platform actually allows you to say like, okay, so this part, like these categories, for example, of data are going to be accessed to the public. Then if someone connects and they have a certain type of permission, they are going to be accessed also this more, we're gonna say, private or personal information. So the idea is to really, with the same source of data, without having to create like many data sets separately or many visualizations separately, the person that enters the portal is going to see only what they are supposed to see. And you, as the administrator, have really control over what is completely public, what we call like kind of hybrid, and what it's only for use within the organization. So maybe you want to explain that.
Yeah, so this is, we're now looking at Morrisville's open data portal here and their building permit application tracker that they've built. So if you're a business who's trying to see the status of the permit that you submitted, you can just come in instead of calling up town hall or emailing and saying, hey, what's the status, right? They're sharing this data with the public, easy to track, easy to come in and see. And now not only if you're the direct permittee who's looking for this information, who submitted it, other businesses can come in and say, okay, wow, there's a lot of other plumbers over here. Maybe this isn't the best place for me to come in. Maybe I need to come in on this side of town or use that information that way. So we really do see a pretty even mix of just regular residents looking for information. Maybe it's education data or health data, businesses, and then other communities too, because especially with Cary and Morrisville, they've got all these sensors set up. I know like Apex right nearby, they come and check that information too for their own purposes. And at the state level, so when we're working with the Office of Budget and Management, all right, so this is OSBM's open data portal. They've got all these different categories of data that they're sharing. And I know that DHHS comes and looks at this, DITs comes and looks at the census data that they have. so it's really available to whoever might need it and can extract value from it.
Do you, as a company, kind of guide either your clients as to what they should put onto their websites, or what information would be the most comprehensive to whomever is accessing it?
We can. So yeah, we certainly can kind of provide guidance on, you know, what are best practices, what you know works the best for other clients. You know, you take it.
So I think what's interesting, what we were saying before, we work in 25 countries, and we work a lot in the public sector. And what I think is interesting for our clients is, of course, we tell them the best practices. Like, we show them what you can actually do with the platform. For example, if you want to work with a smart city, we have certain like clients that are already experts in smart city. So we really try to create a lot of community, what you guys are doing here basically, but also like at an international level. So we try to organize webinars, for example, for our clients that are interested in smart city projects. So everyone can come and show their dashboard. And the idea is to really, they have like the possibility of creating like pages and dashboards and things with their portal. But it is really up to us also to feed them with like what we call the sources of inspiration. So that's really something we work a lot with them.
When you do it on an international level, are you doing it with an audience in other countries in mind, or are you doing it for more internal purposes for that country?
And no, I mean, for example, we do have, we can create a webinar like about smart cities, and we invite our clients from Europe, Australia, like Middle East, Latin America, and North America. And everyone can come and share. I mean, we usually contact the clients beforehand because we think like, okay, you have a nice, like a use case. Would you like to present it? But yeah, I mean, the idea is really to have it like around the world. And we also have like a clients community where they can come and share it themselves. Like, it's like a forum we have for our clients.
And I think to kind of answer the other part of your question, like, all right, if you're a city in somewhere in Europe and you're putting this data out, what's your expectation of who's accessing it, right? I guess it depends a little bit, right? So if you're a smaller community, you're probably not expecting someone in the United States to be looking for your data and saying, oh, this small city in Belgium, like, this is really helpful information. But it can be, right? We have what we call our data hub, where we federate all of the public data sets from all of our clients into one central location. So it can be federated across all of our clients' portals. So I think we're up to close to 35,000 data sets worldwide that are easily accessible for anyone to use and reuse. I'll pull it up here. Oh, we're over 35,000 now. So there's been over 15 billion API calls made to this data. No. So no web development experience required. However, you do also have the ability to fully customize the software in HTML and CSS. So I don't know if you noticed, we've taken a look at a few portals. They all look completely different, right? They all conform to the brand standards of their owners. So Carrie wants to make it look like Carrie's website. OSBM wants it to look like the rest of their website, which also probably looks like the state standards. So it is customizable in HTML and CSS, but all of the data work and the dashboard, development work, that can be done drag and drop. This is an example on OSBM of a page that was built using our Studio page builder, which is just a drag and drop tool, right? Drop the chart in, drop the KPIs in, and then you build this page. So they try and do a dashboard like this every month to kind of bring attention or highlight a particular, maybe it's Black History Month or Native American History Month was, I think, a recent one that they did, just to highlight a little bit more information, make it easier to understand. Because it's one thing, right? Most of us are in very data-heavy roles. We're a little bit familiar with, we see a table, we can filter and find the information that we need. But the public sees all these numbers and says, what the hell? So when you put it in a dashboard like this, in a we like to say data story, right, where you're explaining it, breaking it down a little bit further, and helping them understand the insights a little bit better. It's extremely helpful. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we have a direct connector with ArcGIS. You can harvest almost an entire ArcGIS portal basically just off the URL and pull that into OpenDataSoft. And a lot of our clients do that because ArcGIS isn't super easy to use for the average citizen to find insights and view maps and view information. Again, we're super used to looking at it. We're super used to working with it. But for your average citizen, your average resident, it's a little bit more technical of a platform to use.
I'm guessing the reverse is equally, you can query OpenSoft from GIS.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we will come in to a data set, for example. So let's take this education data set here on OSBM. All right, so we have a view into the raw data. We can apply any filters that we want. So let's say we just want to look at data for 2024, right? And we can make our own charts and visualizations. If it's geospatial data, you can make your own map, and then it can be exported, right? So either as a flat file or directly through an API. So this is extremely useful for when you're working with other agencies, other cities, other municipalities who want to have a live feed directly into the data that you're sharing, right? They don't have to keep emailing you and say, hey, I need this report. Hey, is this out of date? Is this still relevant data? You're always going to have a live feed directly to the data set that you're sharing.
On that, so if we had something that's an ArcGIS REST endpoint, does it hit you and then you make an API call on top of that? So you format it a particular way, or do you allow that to just be able to have that website and they be able to query it directly with the REST endpoint?
You could do it either way. So if you wanted, you could pull the data out of ArcGIS using that API onto the portal here, right? And you would have it hosted, and you would see the raw data, be able to create the charts and visualizations and maps on the portal. But you could also display that ArcGIS API call as metadata, and kind of. So we'll go back up here, so into the information section here, right? So all of this information here, all of this metadata, right? They're harvesting it from the source, or maybe they're going in and editing it manually. If you had that ArcGIS API call and you wanted them to query that instead of going through the portal here, you could just include that in the metadata, and that way it would still be displayed as an asset within the catalog. Users can find it, see it, and then use it. Yeah.
I've heard the term federate data a million times, and I
Mhm.
still don't understand what that means.
Sure, perfect, great question. So it's a little bit of a broad definition, right? I think at its core, it just means to take data that's published at another source and publish it at your own source. So I don't know if you have
Yeah, I
a
think
better
there's,
definition,
like,
but
a small detail. I mean, with federation, at least in OpenDataSoft, It means a little bit like copying the data, but not being able to modify it. So that's like the administrator of the data remains the person that published the data, but you, as a user of Open Datasoft, can copy that dataset, for example, because you would like to create a visualization on your portal, you would like it to be in your catalog, but you cannot modify it. Maybe you can modify the metadata, some of it, but the data itself remains unchanged because we have to assure that what the publisher wanted to publish in the first place, it's the same. So that's the federation for us, and we use it a lot when, for example, you have like one main domain, and then you have subdomains that would like to federate like from the main source, or if you, for example, here we have like a little community in North Carolina, so if people from Cary want to like federate some data sets from OSBM,
Yeah.
they can actually do that.
Right, so that data set would be, so let's say, where are you from? Asheville. So let's say you go to OSPM's portal, you say, all right, I want to display this education data set on my portal, right? If you federate it, it will be displayed exactly as is here on the OSPM portal on your portal.
You cannot modify the data, but you can modify how the data is exposed. For example, you can modify in the sense that you can only show data for Asheville. You can also, the visualizations are not going to be for the whole state, but only for your territory. So yeah, you can modify the visualizations. Exactly.
So when the underlying data is updated, if it's federated, does it update in Asheville?
Exactly. And that's also, I think, a very good way of you to rely on the data, like the main data publisher, and you don't have to do it by hand, and you're like, okay, they say that they're gonna like update the data every week, so I know the data in my portal is also gonna be updated every week.
I think we're supposed to wrap up at 9:25, so maybe time for one more question. No? All right. Going once, going twice. All right, sold. Thank you very much for the time, and we do have a booth out in the exhibit hall. So if you do have any other questions that you think of after you leave, please feel free to swing by and talk a little more. Thank you so much.